Layer Key, do they say, man, you've really, your accent's gone, or your pronunciation's...
Oh, I've never had an accent.
https u2.be lusugbacheljo the U-SI7C PBM Reserve Yorubex Kapazur M6 Roman Reigns' journey to becoming the biggest WWE star ever is one of perseverance, evolution, and an undeniable presence that has not only transformed the wrestling industry, but also turned him from a hopeful prospect into the undisputed face of WWE. His rise has been meticulously crafted through determination, reinvention, and the uncanny ability to command the audience's attention in ways few others have. Born Leati Joseph Anoa'i into the legendary Anoa'i wrestling family, Reigns had the pedigree of greatness woven into his very DNA from the beginning. His family's influence in wrestling is both undeniable and legendary, with relatives such as The Rock, Yokozuna, Rikishi, and the Usos having shaped the industry for decades. However, Roman did not immediately pursue wrestling. Instead, he set his sights on a football career, playing at Georgia Tech, and even attempting to make it into the NFL. Though his football dreams did not materialize as expected, the discipline and physical conditioning required for the sport laid a strong foundation for what would become his wrestling career. The teamwork mentality and the ability to push through adversity would soon translate into the wrestling ring, giving him an edge that most other wrestlers lacked. When Roman eventually joined WWE's developmental system in Florida Championship Wrestling, FCW, which would later be rebranded as NXT, he began his wrestling journey under the name Leaky. His early singles run didn't exactly make waves, and it seemed like he was still finding his way in a world where larger-than-life characters and exceptional in-ring work were the keys to success. However, it was his transformation into Roman Reigns, along with the formation of The Shield, that truly set his career on an unstoppable path to the top. In November 2012, The Shield debuted at Survivor Series, a faction consisting of Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. The trio wreaked havoc on WWE, presenting themselves as an unstoppable force. With their black tactical gear and relentless, no-nonsense fighting style, they quickly became a dominant presence. The Shield was unlike anything WWE fans had seen before. Gritty, raw, and unyielding. They did not just defeat their opponents, they dismantled them. The trio's intense in-ring style, combined with their raw energy and chemistry, made them instant sensations. They were unstoppable, not just in their fight style, but also in their ability to captivate the audience. For nearly 2 years, the Shield dominated WWE, taking on top names like John Cena, Randy Orton, and The Undertaker. With each victory, Reigns solidified his place as a future main event player. When the Shield disbanded in 2014, WWE saw an opportunity to elevate Roman Reigns as the company's next leading man. Vince McMahon and WWE management positioned him as the next John Cena, the face of the company for the next generation. Reigns, with his imposing physique, undeniable charisma, and familial connections, seemed like the perfect candidate to lead WWE into the future. However, as is often the case with WWE's push of new stars, things didn't quite go as planned. Despite winning the 2015 Royal Rumble and earning the main event spot at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, the WWE Universe rejected him. The fans perceived Reigns' rise as overproduced and artificially manufactured, a push that felt more like corporate agenda than an organic ascent. At WrestleMania 31, when the fans expected to cheer for the new face of WWE, instead, they loudly booed him. Even the presence of his cousin, The Rock, who tried to endorse Reigns in the ring, couldn't stop the fans from rejecting him. The boos rained down during his coronation moment, and this rejection proved to be a pivotal point in Reigns' career. Despite this intense backlash, Reigns remained a fixture in the main event scene, battling stars like Triple H, AJ Styles, and Braun Strowman. His rivalries were often entertaining, and he proved himself to be an elite in-ring performer. But the disconnect between him and the fans remained. His scripted promos and repetitive booking only furthered the frustration from the audience, making it difficult for them to connect with him on a deeper level. It wasn't until Roman Reigns faced personal adversity that the audience truly started to empathize with him. In October 2018, Reigns made a heart-wrenching announcement. He was battling leukemia, a battle that forced him to relinquish the Universal Championship and step away from the ring to focus on his health. The outpouring of support from fans was overwhelming as they saw Reigns in a new light. A real human being dealing with an unimaginable struggle. His vulnerability and openness turned him into a figure of admiration and respect. For the first time, fans saw him not as a product of WWE's machine, but as a man fighting for his life. When Reigns returned to WWE in early 2019, he was welcomed back with open arms. Fans who had once jeered him now cheered him, and for a while it seemed like the company had finally found the right formula for Roman. However, something was still missing. Reigns, though beloved and respected, felt like he was still trying to find himself. The babyface persona, which WWE had tried so hard to cultivate, didn't feel natural. The fans were still waiting for something more. That something more came in 2020 when WWE took the bold step of reinventing Roman Reigns. In August 2020, Roman made his return to the ring with a completely revamped character. He aligned himself with the mastermind of the industry, Paul Heyman, and adopted the moniker of the Tribal Chief, a persona that would breathe new life into his career. The timing couldn't have been better, as WWE was in the midst of operating in the Thunderdome, an environment without the usual crowd to hijack the narrative. This created the perfect opportunity for Reigns to develop his new character without immediate audience interference. Reigns' reinvention was not a simple tweak, it was a complete transformation. His presence became more commanding, his demeanor more ruthless, and his in-ring style more methodical. He no longer needed to rely on long-winded promos or catchphrases. Instead, he spoke with a quiet intensity, letting his actions and presence do most of the talking. This new version of Reigns was captivating. He wasn't just a dominant force, he was a calculating, manipulative leader. His new persona embodied power, control, and authority. His matches were slower, more deliberate, with every movement feeling calculated. Every move had a purpose. Every moment in the ring was a statement. He didn't need to be a superhero anymore. He was simply the boss, in control of everything and everyone around him. Reigns' first major feud as the Tribal Chief was against his cousin, Jey Uso. The stakes were high, as Reigns wasn't just fighting for a title or a spot in the hierarchy. He was fighting to assert his dominance as the head of the Anoa'i family. The feud became more than just a wrestling storyline. It became a family drama, with Reigns demanding that Jey acknowledge him as the true leader of the family. The emotional depth of the story was undeniable. Reigns didn't just want to defeat Jey, he wanted to break him mentally and emotionally. The match at Hell in a Cell, where Jey Uso was forced to acknowledge Reigns' supremacy, was one of the most emotionally charged matches in WWE history. The betrayal, the psychological manipulation, and the emotional weight of the story made it feel like more than just a wrestling angle. It felt like a real-life family power struggle. With his new persona firmly established, Reigns embarked on a historic reign as Universal Champion, defeating a who's who of WWE legends: Edge, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar. His feuds were no longer just about titles. They were about legacy, family, and power. His dynamic with the Usos, particularly his relationship with Jey Uso, added layers to his character. The bloodline, as they became known, became an integral part of his identity. He wasn't just a champion, he was a leader of a family, and that family was expected to show loyalty to him, no matter the cost. Reigns' in-ring work evolved alongside his character. His matches became less about flashy comebacks and more about controlling the pace of the contest, dictating the flow of the match. He was no longer the underdog fighting for respect. He was the king, and everyone had to bow before him. Even his promos, which had once been criticized for feeling forced, became essential viewing. With Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, Reigns no longer had to rely on empty catchphrases. Instead, his promos were sharp, confident, and full of menace. Heyman, the master manipulator, provided the perfect verbal complement to Reigns' silent, imposing presence. The slow burn of the Bloodline storyline only further solidified Reigns' place as the biggest star in WWE. The tensions, the betrayals, the power struggles, All of it captivated fans in a way that few other storylines had. Reigns' dominance wasn't just physical, it was psychological, and it played out over a long period, giving fans time to invest in his character. Even the Usos, once his closest allies, were not immune to his manipulation. The eventual rebellion of Sami Zayn and the Usos created one of the most dramatic and unpredictable storylines in recent WWE history. Fans who had once rejected Reigns were now fully engaged in his rise, fall, and every twist in between. Reigns' impact has extended far beyond the wrestling ring. He has become a mainstream media presence, appearing in major interviews, television shows, and Hollywood projects. As his star has continued to rise, so has his influence, both in and out of WWE. He is now the face of the company in a way that few others have ever been. The journey that once seemed to be doomed by fan rejection has transformed into a story of redemption, proving that resilience, adaptability, and great storytelling can change the course of a career. Roman Reigns' legacy is now cemented in the annals of WWE history. His journey, filled with triumph and heartbreak, proves that true greatness doesn't come from being handed the world on a silver platter, but from rising through adversity and finding your true self along the way. The Tribal Chief has redefined what it means to be the face of WWE,